Here in Middle Georgia, a place called Andersonville, which has gained a lot of notoriety for its significance during the Civil War. We got here early. Usually when I was walking these battlefields, particularly the ones in Virginia, it was middle of the day, later in the evening, hot. So taking a little relief of coming during the cooler temperatures, and we've got a lot of ground to cover. Doesn't seem like it's very much, but what stands before me is acreage, lots and lots of acreage. And as much area that this place covers, you can't help but think the sheer numbers of people that were packed in here. But we'll go over all that, and also we'll feature the museum on site, which is a POW museum. It's actually the National POW Museum. It's here in Andersonville. And we'll also walk out and visit some of these guys that had fallen due to the conditions here. So yeah, we'll do a little walk around and get familiar with this place. For you guys, it may be your first time. This is actually my second time here. And funny enough, we took a field trip here when I was in college. I went to school pretty close by, and it inspired me during my college years that I was going to do my history thesis on POWs and treatments and the communications of POWs and their families back home. And did a lot of research, and I don't know if I've thanked them enough, but they let me use some archives that they have here and also at Emory University in Atlanta. And I put together, you know, a little thesis report about the treatments of POWs. So as we walk around here, I'm going to draw upon my memory. It's been a few years, but we'll try to piece this together. So yeah, let's take a walk around and figure out what's going on with Andersonville. Now around the perimeter of Andersonville, historically they placed these white markers. Now there's 2 pairs of white markers that are spaced out all the way down. I don't know if you can see way down there, but they go all the way around the prison, and they signify something of importance. Obviously the stockade walls have been, for the most part, taken down. There are a few reproductions, and I'll show you those. But this particular one that's on the outside, it denotes the stockade wall, and we're talking probably about 30-foot high wall. And then you'll also notice that there's another one on the inside, and it's spaced out about maybe 10 yards away from this outside stockade wall. Now that was to mark what they call the deadline, or the gun line.
Tell them about the gun line, boss.
Yeah, they had a gun line. So what it was is there were guard towers that were spaced at certain intervals around the stockade, and the prisoners were told that if they were to ever come within 10 feet of the stockade wall, that the guards had every right to shoot them dead. So they marked the inside. The 10-foot mark was considered the deadline, and then that would be the stockade wall. So as you can see, it goes all the way down, and then where that road loops around, it goes around there and back up the hill again. Now, as we're walking towards this makeshift reproduction stockade, I want you to kind of imagine all the people that were crammed in here. And when I say crammed, you barely had any room to yourself. Obviously, these guys were given bare minimal supplies, so there was a lot of thievery among the prisoners. A lot of cutthroat deals. There were gangs, and some gangs were more powerful than others, and they would have some conniving tricks to try to take advantage of others. Food was scarce, water was scarce, there were no facilities. Basically, the green grass here was fertilized by all the human waste. So imagine this being a mud pit of human waste. People just stacked in on top of each other. The average prisoner had a life expectancy of just a few months because disease and everything was widespread. But as you imagine the densely packed prisoners of this area, this field, this open field right here, I'm going to turn the camera, and these are the types of makeshift shelters that they've made. And it's just whatever they had on hand, and they had to just make do and try their best. Now, some, yes, would be more elaborate, better than others. Of course, you know, like prisons of today, they ganged or incorporated gangs, and you know, the stronger gangs had the best materials. But these are spread out, you know, on display. But imagine you got this small little lean-to right here being next to that, and that one being next to that, and to all these others. Yeah, they got these spaced out, but they were literally living on top of each other. And again, that's a pretty large field, and by estimations, I would say it's between like 15 to 20 acres. So imagine 15 to 20 acres of living on top of each other. in your own filth and feces and human waste, food scraps. I mean, it wasn't sanitary at all here. So now again, in reference to the gun line behind me, the spacing is more detailed right here. So you can actually see the distance between the stockade wall and the gun line. So I'll turn the camera around, you can see that yourself. So that would be the gun line, and this is the dead zone, and there's your stockade. Now I've got this camera about eye level, and I'm about 6 foot even, and I'll come right up to this and I'll show you how high that is. Now we're about 6 feet, and I'm not even halfway up this thing. So yeah, it's all 20 feet, possibly even higher than that. So yeah, I mean, that with the guard towers spaced out every so often. There's another one over there. Yeah, it's, once you're in, you're in. So we'll walk over there and show you how they got in. We'll go to the entrance gate. Now every so often as I'm walking around, I'm coming across these guys. Now these are historic markers, but if you look very close, it states that it's a historic well. So given the conditions of this area, and given the fact that I've seen probably about maybe a dozen of these, water was a must. So these guys actually dug for wells, the prisoners did. And speaking of digging, I'm going to run over here and I'm going to show you a little thing, because nobody wants to be imprisoned and nobody wants to be killed trying to escape from prison. So what do? You dig your way out, right? So I'm going to show you one of those little dig sites where some prisoners got together and tried to tunnel their way out of here. So we're going to head over there right now. So behind me is another example of a escape tunnel, and obviously you'll traditionally find these things closer to the stockade wall and the gun line. It just makes for, you know, smaller tunnels to dig, less work to escape. Yeah, and some of these guys were actually successful. So you got the area that's preserved, fenced off, and I'll show you this. You'll see the marker for the gun line, and then right by the road is the stockade wall marker. So yeah, these guys literally dug. I'm gonna go back so you can see that in the background, but yeah, I'm standing right here where the stockade wall is. So yeah, they didn't have very far to go. And like I said, I mean, there was a few guys that successfully made it out of here. And but yeah, it wasn't easy. I wouldn't say it would be easy at all, but yeah, it's about that far. And then yes, you can see there's the stockade line and the gun line. So yeah, they preserved a few of these guys that are still fenced up and everything, so you can kind of get that idea of them digging. So yeah, so how did they do it? Like, you got all these people sleeping on top of each other and everything. Well, most of the gangs, you know, they had to pick the area about where they wanted to sleep at and everything, and they would take shifts and have guys pull guard on the lookout, make sure no guards are looking, and you know, they would pick spots between guard towers. So you know, you're obviously not going to dig below the guard tower, but yeah, it's kind of unique that they preserved that and kind of let you know like where each of these areas were. But yeah, we'll continue on walking and we'll check some more out. So to my front is I guess the main gate. I'm not sure if this is the actual location of the main gate, but they made a reproduction of the main gate. And I'm standing in the shade of the stockade wall. It's pretty nice, actually. And but yeah, I take you through the main gate as if we're a prisoner getting dropped off here to, you know, test our fate amongst the thousands of others that are prisoned here in Andersonville. So yeah, we'll go walk through the main gate real fast and kind of get that experience. As we enter the door, our freedom's exit. And inside the gun line we go. The majority of the camp, the prison camp, is situated up on this north side. Now it does dip down about halfway. I'll show you that. And there's a small creek that cuts through the middle of the prison. And so looking back, that's looking south, and you've got the river that goes east-west. But being that it's two predominant hills, you got the south camp and then the north camp, they all converged at the bottom of this little creek valley, and that's where all the runoff would go. So all the human waste, all the rainwater, everything would just be washed down to that creek bed. And that creek bed served as a bath, shower. So you've got like the stench of tens of thousands of prisoners all draining down into that one little creek ditch. And on a hot day, to get some relief, maybe take a bath, that's all the water you had. But it's not really all the water you had, because also by the creek is a well, a natural spring that bubbled up that the prisoners discovered. So we'll go look at that.
He was a local minister, right? I think he was local, and he came and did a lot of services for the prisoners. So,
So the backstory on the Providence Spring. There was actually a tour group going by, and there was a threat of danger noodles, so I figured I'd give you the story about it as I'm walking back trying to seek shade, because it is Georgia, it is summer, and it's hot. So Providence Spring, it came to be by a miracle, hence the name Providence Spring. But there was a storm here when the camp was in operation, and lightning struck the area, the same spot where that spring came from. So it is the legend that when the lightning struck, it was a gift from God, and from where the lightning hit the earth, up came a bubbling spring. And it was a significant change from all the excrement water, that these prisoners had something that they could actually drink from. And so yeah, that's kind of unique in its own right. But yeah, gotta find some shade. Oh, it's so hot. My God, these mosquitoes don't take a break. I'm getting eaten alive. Jeez Louise. And it is so hot. But I mean, it's 2024, and I have proper clothes, sunglasses, you know. I'm still sweating through clothes that should be breathable, but I can only imagine that at the height of this prison, around August of 1864, this place was 26 acres and held over 30,000 people. And I know that they didn't have the comforts of today, and living on top of each other, amongst each other, in filthy conditions with minimal supplies, living in lean-to tents and holes in the ground, and I mean, nothing, no food, dirty water. Yeah, it was hell on earth. And the life expectancy was, yeah, it was easy to figure out. So yeah, I honestly do not know any small towns with 30,000 people, and that just boggles my mind that many people lived on 26 acres. But yeah, continuously moving, trying to hop from one shady spot to the next. These guys didn't have any shade, but I'm slowly making my way to go see these guys. There's a cemetery that's connected to this national park, and so you have the prison, the grounds, and then you have the POW museum. But yes, there's also a still active Andersonville National Cemetery, where interred there are thousands and thousands of prisoners that died at Andersonville. So we'll go over there and we'll pay our respects and see how they're doing. So I'm in the cemetery, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but when the dead died, they died in such a mass number that they dug trenches and basically just lined them up and threw dirt on them. I mean, they were buried so close together, and it's pretty evident. I'll show you why that's evident, but a lot of them weren't identified, so there's a lot of unknown graves. But yeah, it's very eye-opening to see how close each one of these guys were buried. So I'm going to be quiet, and we're just going to pay our respects and walk through the cemetery real fast. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me on this quick trip to Andersonville National Cemetery and Andersonville National Historic Site. It's a very sobering and somber place. There's heavy emphasis with this national park on the prisoners of war. Typically around these parts of the video, I'd say I would exit through the gift shop, but some of our guys and our troops never make it home, so I'm gonna make a small donation on their behalf. And if you guys would ever want to donate, I'll leave a link where you guys can do that. So support our troops, remember the fallen, and you know, we leave no man behind. So I'll end it with that, but not before I say that this episode's history.